Report podcast powered by the National Cannabis Industry Association. I am your host, Khadijah Adams, founder of Girl Get That Money, a business empowerment coaching firm, as well as the founder of the Green Street Academy, where we teach you the basics of investing in cannabis stocks. So the goal of our show is to highlight minority entrepreneurs in the space and share weekly updates about what are they doing and how are they participating in the space and bringing value to the space. Also interview minority entrepreneurs as well as minority-owned companies that support social equity and social equity applicants, and a host of other cannabis industry leaders and pioneers in the space. Joining me today are my very special guests, Courage in Cannabis authors, Mary Jane Borden, Broderick Randle, and Candy Flores. When we return from our commercial break, we're going to catch you up on the latest news about minorities in the cannabis space, and we'll learn more about these authors and their journeys into the cannabis industry. So if you're watching us on Facebook, click share right now. Share it to your timeline or with some of your friends. Tag them so that they can join in on it. And we'll be back in just a little bit right after these messages.
It is the budding dispensary of knowledge.
Just the PubMed of cannabis, the Google Scholar of cannabis. We want to be a continuing education platform that is easily accessible.
We see this as being able to leave a legacy for the entire industry and really elevate this plant to where it deserves to
be. Hey you guys, so latest about New Jersey. Well, finally, they're going to begin accepting applications to run legal weed businesses next month, bringing the state closer to opening dispensaries and selling cannabis to the public. So the Cannabis Regulatory Commission on Tuesday announced that it would open the application process on cannabis growers, processors, and testing labs on December the 15th. It also opens up for dispensaries in March, on March 15th of 2022. So there are no deadlines to file these applications. The commission will accept them on a rolling basis. And then only cultivation licenses have a cap. I think it's like 37 new licenses can be issued between February 2021 to February 2023. So hats off to New Jersey. I hope you guys really pulled through this time because, you know, you guys put it on the back burner after a while. So March 15th, we are watching out, especially for those dispensary applications. And then we're definitely going to keep an eye on this December 15th process as well with the application. Well, guess what, guys? Group forms. There's a group that just formed, and they want to give minorities equal opportunity and equal access into the cannabis market. So a new association has been formed to ensure that Black and brown people and people in underrepresented communities will have an opportunity to participate in Connecticut's new legalized recreational cannabis industry, as the state regulators had promised before in the past. So the Alliance for Cannabis Equity, or ACE, created by two workforce and economic development organizations, will host various programs to help aspiring business owners and train workers for the new cannabis field. So we're looking to get this done, you guys, and look at Connecticut to see, you know, how they're going to actually get this established. So the establishment of retail stores across Connecticut isn't expected until the end of 2022 and 2023. So they have a little bit of time, but we still want to show some support. We're going to actually reach out to them and see what their mission and their vision is. And if it aligns with ours here, then we're definitely going to see how we can collaborate and help them, you know, bring that to fruition there in their state. Some announcements, you guys, about minority-owned companies right here in the cannabis space that is raising capital. And I wanted to do a special shout out to them, primarily because it's hard enough raising capital in the space, but you just don't know how hard it is for Black and brown people. Well, guess what? It's extreme. It's like 100 times, okay, harder than if I were Caucasian. Okay, let's just be clear, right? And so I wanted to highlight these companies. And if you are an investor out there or someone who's thinking about investing, you know, I want you to look these companies up, do your diligence, and reach out to the founders. I think they would really appreciate that. So the very first one on my list is the Keith Room. The Keith Room, and it's KIF, okay, the Keith Room. And it is owned by Ayani Otinio. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. She is the CEO and founder. Her website is Keith, KIF Room, ROOM.com. TAGKIFROOM.com. So they are raising capital right now. Another company is Noted, NODED. That is Nydia Zamorano Torres and Ashley Corrado. And so their website is Noted, NODED.info, INFO. So reach out to them if you're interested in a technology play. And then there's Indo Industries. I don't know if you guys remember, but we interviewed Nancy Doe right here on the Cannabis Minority Report podcast. So reach out to Nancy Doe. She is raising capital for indoindustries.com. And then we have Dress with Christopher Favory. So I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, Christopher. Don't hold me to it, y'all. But his last name is spelled F as in Frank, E, V as in Victor, R-Y, F-E-V-R-Y. And, you know, the name of his company is Dryas, D-R-I-S. And it is a delivery service that's already up and going, already have capital going through it, and they are raising capital. So for more information, go to yourgreenpackage.com, yourgreenpackage.com. And then last but not least, and just for today, y'all, because every Monday we show up here at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The other company that is raising capital that is minority owned in the space is called Legacy Greens. Dr. Donise Floyd with Legacy Greens. Y'all reach out to her. Her website is LegacyGreensLLC.com, LegacyGreensLLC.com. And we're going to have Dr. Donise Floyd on the show here pretty soon. And then I wanted to make an announcement, my favorite product of the week, you guys. Oh my God, where is it? I kind of left it, but I want you guys to go to BeyondDermatologics.com. That is Dr. Elizabeth Holmes. She actually produces this scalp oil that is infused scalp oil. So I love it. I happen to love it. And I'll share that with you guys in just a little bit. So when we return, we're going to learn more about these amazing co-authors of a new book compilation that reveals their stories of courage in cannabis. If you're watching us on Facebook, click that button down here or right there or wherever it is, and share it with a friend, share it on your timeline, and get somebody to call in or write some comments. We'll be back right after.
I am the cannabis industry. I am the cannabis industry.
I am the cannabis industry.
I am the cannabis industry.
We are the cannabis industry.
And we are proving that regulation works.
All right, you guys, we are back. Again, my name is Khadijah Adams, your host. I wanted to show you guys, this is Beyond Dermatologics. This is her scalp oil. Wanted to make sure I show that to you, but go to BeyondDermatologics.com and check her out, hit her up. I think she's already has her beta testers already. I think her product is available for sale now. So go there, BeyondDermatologics.com. All right, so we are back with our Courage in Cannabis authors, and we're going to start with Mary Jane Borden, but we also have Broderick Randle and Candy Flores. But starting with Mary Jane Borden, she's an artist, an author, an activist, and cannabis advocate from Westerville, Ohio. She holds a BA from Otterbein University and an MBA from the University of Dayton, and the prestigious accredited in Public Relations, or APR, certification from the Public Relations Society of America, PRSA. Her vast and diverse background includes 9 years as in the pharmaceutical industry as an analyst of cancer, chemotherapy drugs, and 10 years of online media activism to promote sensible drug policies. So Mary Jane Borden, welcome to the Cannabis Minority Report podcast. It is so good to have you here. How are you today?
I'm great. It's a sunny day here in Central Ohio, so I only thing that would be better if it was maybe 60 degrees.
I know, right? So when you say it's a sunny day, does that mean that there's no snow on the ground right now?
Not right today, but give us a chance.
Right. Well, look, I'm good to have you on. Tell us about your, we have a little bit about your background, but tell us more about your journey into the cannabis industry and how has cannabis affected your life?
Well, it's interesting. I first first dabble into the cannabis space was being named Mary Jane by my dad way back in the dark ages, many moons ago. And so it's a family name, and I am Mary Jane. I'm not Mary, I'm not Jane, I'm Mary Jane. And so that would probably be, considering today's world, would be my first step into the cannabis space. Wouldn't you suggest that? So it's an ongoing kind of play on words oftentimes with my name in terms of different things that's happened. But I think the thing that sparked my interest to really get involved were a couple things. Now, first of all, way back, like I said, I'm a little bit old. Back in 1970, I read a book called The Greening of America. And it really kind of showed me this kind of a path forward in terms of a number of different things, but there was definitely space in this book for cannabis, for the greening of America, if you want to call it that. And so that resonated with me, and I kind of carried that forward through a number of places in my life. I'm going to do a lot of fast forward in here because in my article will cover more detail, kind of the early years. Mm-hmm. But my first interest, I think, was born in around 1997 when a bill called SB 2, that's Senate Bill 2, was defeated by the Ohio Senate. And what this bill did was to establish a medical necessity defense that patients could use in court. You got to remember, medical necessity defense requires an arrest and a court appearance. Okay. So just to get that far, okay, someone could stay up in court and say, I'm a I use cannabis for my multiple sclerosis, I use cannabis to treat cancer, what have you, that we know so well nowadays. Mm-hmm. And so that was just almost roundly defeated by the Ohio General Assembly. And just watching the activists on television, just through the lens of the television, I thought, oh my God, there's a real need here for activism to help people who are using cannabis medicinally get somehow into the system whereby their use would be deemed legal. In other words, kind of my central goal that was going around my head was my mission is to legalize medical marijuana in Ohio. Okay. So the course after that was basically the steps I took to get there, which we actually did in 2016. With the passage of what we call HB 523 that established Ohio's medical cannabis program. Okay, and we wandered through the maze of bills, legislative bills. There was like 6 of them introduced, 7 of them introduced before 2015 when we started thinking about HB 523. Not one, well maybe one got a proponent testimony hearing over 15 years. The rest of them died in committee. So, okay, that didn't work. All right, let's try another thing. Let's try ballot issues. Now, we the groups that I was a part of and formed, we fielded, I think, 4 we authored. And one it was like a rocket ship. I describe it in my writing as just being on a rocket ship. This was 2013. It was the same time that Dr. Sanjay Gupta released his Weeds documentary. Really sparked national interest, really sparked interest in Ohio. Yeah. So the 5 of us just sat around a table in 2012 inventing this thing. By the time we fast forward 1 year, we had 8,000 volunteers. With managers. We had 88 county captains, one for each of Ohio's 88 counties, and 5 regional managers to oversee them.
Now, is this the story that you tell in when you share your story of courage in cannabis? Is this what our readers can actually look forward to hearing more about in your story?
Yes, now I cover these things kind of in little segments. There's so much more to each of these stories
Sure.
that I could go to, the fine details, and some of it's interesting, some of it's tragic, some of it's crazy, but nonetheless, through the whole path that I'm trying to describe here, defeat after defeat after defeat, finally in 2016, we got legal medical marijuana in Ohio, and that was huge because Ohio's a pretty big state. It's always tried to pride itself in being a leading state in the nation, and we were pretty behind, I think, many states by the time we got there. But we did, and so I was to say in 2016 we got there. 2021 now, it's like $500 million worth of sales since then. So it's a fairly healthy program. I think I'd get a lot of debate on that, but nonetheless, we got there, patients are covered, and that was the objective.
Now, how did that affect your life? Once that went through, okay, 2016, out of all the hard work, because if I heard you right, you said that you got started in like 1980, was it 1989?
Well, I think the movement for legislation in Ohio, or even ballot issues, started in the late 90s, around 1990s.
Late 90s, okay. And so how did that affect your life when it was legal, when it was passed for medical marijuana in Ohio?
Well, I'm kind of one of those half full people, my glass, the way I see life, I got these rose colored glasses, I keep trying to break them, but I can't. So I kind of look at it. I'm standing on, like, I use this analogy. I'm standing, it's a plateau. It's a big mountain that we're climbing, big mountain. And it's tough climbing it, but we reach this plateau. Okay. And we can stand at this plateau, and we can look out over the valley that we came from. All right. And you just look out over the valley, you go, oh my gosh, this is absolutely beautiful. It is amazing. It is gratifying. It's like seeing your dreams come true in real life. And so to me, and I would get a lot of argument with people who think that the program stinks, can tell you everything that's wrong with it. But being the glass half full person that I am, I see the beautiful place to which we have arrived. Now I look up across my shoulder and I see there's a huge mountain that's left to climb. But why don't we, while we're here, look out over what we've accomplished? And I'm looking at a perspective of 50 years now. I'm not looking at it from the standpoint of, well, I've been in the industry for 10 years. Over the course of 50 years, where we came from. It's beautiful.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. So let me ask you, what can people expect to walk away with after reading your story?
Well, I wanted a couple of things to come from my story. First of all, it was a way for me I'm getting older now. And so I think you get at an age and you say, okay, it's particularly if you're a writer, you want to start telling your own story. You may have told a lot of stories about other people and other things, but you want to tell your own story. So that's one thing. I want people to maybe, if they ever wondered who I am, I'm telling you. All right, there you go. But the second thing I want to come away with, I want my audience, I want the people who are new to the industry, I want the people who have dollar signs in their eyeballs to understand where we came from. Cannabis isn't something that was invented in a lab or talked about in a boardroom. Let's see if we can market this widget product. It was born 4, 8, 10,000 years ago, maybe more. When mankind had been using it medicinally, all the way winding through, the mid 1800s, when it started to get a resurgence, coming back to when it was, removed from the U.S. Pharmacopoeia in 1942, to when it was controlled substances. All these things, all these horrible things that have we've survived a lot. All of us human beings
Mhm.
have survived a lot. And those of us, who know this plant survived a lot. And I think those stories should be told. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, what type of advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs seeking to enter the industry? And then let people know how they can reach out to you.
Well, it obviously, I think you read my story. There's a bit of perseverance there. It's and there's a it's a long timeline. I think most people that I know, I'll walk into the room and all of a sudden, this is very strange for me. I'm the oldest person in there, so it's like, wow, you can't appreciate, because your windows are much more narrow than I am. So I just wanted to say that, when things don't happen exactly as you want them to in the short term,
Mhm.
start taking the wider view and say what's going to happen over the long term. And if you're able to take a look over this, you have to stick to it a while and go through a lot of different trial and error and trial. But finally, you can do that. You could accomplish your dreams. You can make medical marijuana legal in the state of Ohio.
Exactly. There you go. And so, how can people reach out to you?
Excuse me. My email address is simply my name, Mary Jane Borden. You can see it there at gmail.com. And I'm on Facebook under my same name. But my son configured my Facebook page, so I'm not sure how many people can get through, but I'll have to get him to work on it a little bit and make it a little more open. But you can reach me on Facebook as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us. We're going to go and move on to Broderick Randle. Broderick is a medical cannabis advocate and patient. His amazing story of living with sickle cell anemia SS is like none other. He is a board member of the Cincinnati's Sickle Cell Alliance Foundation and is fighting for sickle cell awareness, education, and proper wellness the way it may be naturally conjoined with cannabis. And then also, he is currently working for Benavides. He's also involved with sales, some metric aspects of it, and also the business development. So Broderick, welcome. Good to have you on. How are you today?
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well, Broderick, doing well. And it's good to have you on. I'm glad that you could make it with us. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? I know you were saying that you had sickle cell anemia SS, and that's something that is common amongst people of color. I know my baby son, it also has sickle cell anemia SS. And so can you tell people a little bit more about your cannabis story and how cannabis has affected your life, as a sickle cell patient, without giving away too much of your story?
Yes. So myself and my sister, we were both born with sickle cell, and basically our parents both had the traits. Unfortunately, they didn't know at the time, and then together we formed a full-blown disease. It's a genetic blood disease, and as you mentioned, it's usually found in the Black and brown communities. And I've used cannabis to provide a better quality of life. I've discovered it basically, after, a little later in my college years, and it's ever since, been providing a much better alternative choice of medicine than just the opioids that's normally provided. And instead of, being constantly admitted in the hospital under giving high dose pain meds, I've actually found, just trying to eat right, manage my usage of cannabis, and then also, there's different forms. You don't always have to inhale or smoke it. You can vape it, you can eat it. There's multiple forms of eating it too. There's gummies, there's capsules.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned basically just my journey has been a continued evolving educational journey, just to continue to learn how this plant can provide a better and safer way of living than what's been normally, the go-to or provided.
Mm-hmm. And so is this one of the reasons why you wanted to share your story of courage in cannabis? And if so, what can people walk away from after reading your story?
Yes, absolutely. This is one of the main reasons I wanted to. I know a lot of people, especially even with my condition, it's usually frowned upon when they hear the two words together, like sickle cell and cannabis. But I've done a lot of research besides actually, looking through reading through knowledge. I've also, self-experimented, and I've learned that this is something I can't, pardon me, just hold back anymore. I'm willing to share it with the world, and no longer afraid to. I used to look at it as a hindrance, but it's actually, God-given strength to be able to share this story and, share my journey and how it's helping me and how it may be to help plenty of others with this condition as well.
You know what, and that is so true, because we need people like you that can, that comes out of the canna closet and, is no longer afraid to, share what's actually working best for their body. And, as an adult, you want to be able to have that alternative, and you want to be able to, have an alternative, and so I know with my son, cannabis helps him too. So, being able to share your story is amazing. And so what can people actually walk away from after they read your story? What will they walk away from your story? What is your message?
Hopefully, even as both you and Mary were mentioning, that they walk away with a better or a more normalized aspect or opinion of cannabis, because it's truthfully just a plant medicine. It deserves to be right there on the shelves next to or your Tylenol or something for your headaches. Is actually to be better. I will hope that they can gain that aspect from it, and truly, think about it and maybe re-educate themselves, or take the time to find someone that will or be willing to, or or even find few websites. But hopefully they could walk away just with a more open-minded and opinion and perspective on cannabis, and realize that, hey, this is not just a drug or a gateway drug. It actually may be an exit drug for a lot of things.
You know what? That is so true. I was actually just reading up over the weekend about so many different people have said that cannabis has helped them, leave cocaine and heroin addiction, meth addiction, and all kinds of other addiction, even alcoholism. And, and so you just confirmed something that I was actually reading. And so what kind of advice, Broderick, will you give a new entrepreneur, someone who's coming into the cannabis space or who's aspiring to be in the cannabis space? What kind of advice would you give them about this industry?
I would excuse me, I would give them the advice that the sky is not the limit. It's still growing, and there's so many opportunities that you could apply yourself in so many ways. Don't like box yourself in. If you don't find a job at the dispensary or the a processing facility or even cultivation, you could find your way in still by creating some kind of ancillary business or company that the cannabis companies may need. So there's plenty of opportunities out there. Or even if you may have done HR or some other form of business or marketing, any job or any skill you may have in your current position, it could honestly apply in the cannabis industry. So I would say just apply yourself, do the research, and try. Don't give up.
That's right. Absolutely. I love that. So how can people reach out to you, Broderick?
You can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn, Broderick Randle Jr., or via email. It's Broderick@beneleaves.com. That's BRODERICK @BENELEAVES.com, or even check us out on Instagram @beneleaves.com. Or @Bentley's, sorry. And
no worries.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here with us. And Can't wait to read your story and Courage in Cannabis. I know it's going to be launching here pretty soon. We'll probably make that announcement before we close out today, but I wanted to go over to Candy Flores, you guys. And Candy Flores has an amazing story in cannabis. I think all these authors have amazing stories. She was actually born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas, and is a medical cannabis patient, advocate, enthusiast, and activist. She went from being the assistant chief of operations for a local pediatric office to being a cancer survivor and medical cannabis consumer and patient. Welcome, Candy. Good to have you on. How are you today?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Yes. I was just, actually reading a little bit about you. And then when I read your story, I was like, oh, wait, I can't wait to interview her. So tell, I don't want to give it all away. And I know we don't have a lot of time to go deep into your story, but tell everybody about your journey into the cannabis industry, how it has affected your life, and why was it important for you to share your story of courage in cannabis?
Well, yes, I was on a morphine pump for 5 years. And when I got a little bit more ill, I had to have an emergency surgery and went cold turkey from the opiates.
Wow.
So at that point, my different medical issues were just all bulging in and led to depression, and any type of stress causes flare-ups for my medical conditions. So at that point, there was nothing else they could do. So going cold turkey with the infections and everything I endured, I was left with no other option, and I gave up. My body was tired of fighting. I was introduced to cannabis at that early 40s, and at that point, I talked to my husband and my kids, and I thought, that was, well, what else did I have to lose? I honestly didn't think I was going to make it, so I agreed to try it. And I had tried it one time, and when I graduated back in 93, I believe, 93, and just tried it once. It wasn't for me, so I never did it again. Then, like I said, early 40s, when I was introduced to it and needed it, it really, really helped. It was, it helped with my withdrawals. Of course, the withdrawals is nothing I would, wish on anyone. It was a life-changing experience for not only myself, but for my family. They actually helped me through this, my husband and my kids. It is still difficult at times, but the cannabis has actually helped a lot.
So are you saying that consuming cannabis helped you to fight an addiction that you had to opioids?
It actually, I was doing well with the opiates, but it was like from doing it orally to, my pain was so widespread that I needed more. So when, I was on from fentanyl to oxycodone to Norco, and I actually had tried probably everything in the book, and at times they had me on double because the pain was so severe. So the morphine pump ended up working. So they surgically, with the neurosurgeon, they went in and put it in. Like I said, 5 years later, I needed a revision, and they ended up replacing it. So my body rejected it, and that's how I became more ill internally with infections and developed CRPS as well. So at that point, I had 4 surgeries back to back. And
I couldn't even imagine.
Thank you. Yeah. So my savior was cannabis.
Mhm, mhm.
So
So,
at that
so let me
point,
ask you, I mean, because you have an amazing story, and I want everybody to go and pick up Courage in Cannabis as soon as it becomes available, because you've got to read Candy's story. You have to read everybody's story, but you got to read Candy's story. Can you tell us, why was it important for you to share your story of courage in cannabis with the world? Because really, when this book releases, right, it releases to the world. Why was it important to share your story?
I feel it's important because I was in their shoes at one time. I didn't believe I was raised it was a drug until I actually experienced it in a medical way and um, educated myself on it. And I continue to strive and learn more on it and just help others. I feel with us sharing our story, it could help, either a loved one. If it doesn't help you, it might help your loved one, a coworker, a neighbor, anyone. Just I wanted to share my story and let them know that it helps. It's not a drug, and I'm lucky to be alive. Now living naturally with the natural healing.
Yeah. You know what? I love that. I love the fact that you realize that, and I'm a firm believer of this too, that, whatever you go through, right? Everyone has a story, and everyone's story is really meant to heal other people or to help other people, right? Get through something. And I believe that's just amazing. So let me ask you, so what do you want people to walk away with? After reading your story in The Courage of Cannabis, how do you want them to walk away? What do you want them to think about mostly about your story?
I want them to know that it can help you, and there is other ways of providing healthcare other than with medication after medication. It's good natural medicine, and a lot of us activists and advocates are here to help you in your journey. I am in the process of opening a CBD wellness boutique, and that's where I can be reached, and that is my goal. And I just want to help everyone.
That's amazing.
I want to be able to help them heal, and
yeah,
not have them struggle.
I love that. I love the fact that you want to help people, and your story, how now that cannabis has helped you, how you want to reach out and help other people. So I really love that. And let's say I'm a new entrepreneur coming into cannabis right now. What advice would you give me coming into the cannabis industry right now, Candy?
I feel it's our future. It's our kids' future. I know it's taken time, especially in the state of Texas where I'm at, but I feel it's there. I believe in my plant. I believe in it, and I'm living proof. If you can speak to others and know how ill I was and see it from someone else's point of view. It's the business is going to be there. We just need to keep fighting and sharing our stories.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. I really love the fact that you are an advocate and you're a patient, so you know what it's like. You know what that pain is like. You can, you're that living testimony of how cannabis has really affected and changed your life. And so now you want to really help other people. So you mentioned earlier how people can reach you. Can you just mention it one more time? How can our guests reach out to you via social media? Is there a website or email?
Yes, they can reach me through my personal page, Candy Flores on Facebook, and Perla Texas CBD on Facebook as well. We're on Instagram.
Can you
Perla
spell
Texas
that for
LLC.
me?
Yes, it's Pearl, PEARL of Texas.
Okay.
LLC on Instagram. Yes.
Okay, Pearl of Texas LLC on Instagram. Y'all look up Candy Flores, and make sure that you get your copy of Courage in Cannabis. That's actually going to be launching December 13th. Candy Flores, thank you so much for being with us. Broderick Randle, thank you for being with us. Mary Jane Borden, oh my God, I love you. Thank you for being with us. I can't wait to read each one of your stories. I have not read anybody's story. I'm one of the featured authors too, Encouraging Cannabis, and I'm just looking forward to reading everybody's story too. So thank you again for joining us. Hey y'all, subscribe to the Cannabis Minority Report podcast, where we wish our authors of Courage in Cannabis much success with the launch. And we want to have each and every last one of you back on individually so that we can hear more about your story, more about your success in cannabis. And so stay tuned when we come back. So if you like our products or want your products to actually be aired here, right here on the Cannabis Minority Report podcast, make sure you hit me up. If you have a 30-second commercial or a 1-minute commercial that you like to have run through our, during our program, be sure to email me at info@khadijahadams.com. We're going to be back in just a few minutes, right after these messages.
We need to make sure that we get minorities and African Americans, people that have been affected by the war on drugs, indigenous people, brown and black people holistically needs to be a part of this conversation. With the help of NCIA and being an Evergreen member, we believe that we could push this agenda forward. Cannabis business owners, entrepreneurs that really see the bigger picture to say, let's push this agenda forward. We can't do this without you. We need to make sure that our voices are heard.
All right, you guys, we are back. I have one final question for Mary Jane Borden, if she's still on with us. And that question is, where do you see the industry of cannabis going in the next 5 years?
Wow, I need to get out my crystal ball here. Okay. I think that from what I'm reading, it's going to be pretty explosive growth if it goes the way the prognosticators are saying. Like I said, a $50 billion industry by probably end of the decade, and that it's also, I think what we're seeing is that growth in the United States, but I'm seeing country after country after country also revising their cannabis policies. So this is not just a movement within the United States, it's also a global movement. In fact, Mexico, they've got a bill out there right now that will probably, if all goes well for them, approved within a week. So this is the direction that the world is going. Okay, so how does it appear? My hope is, of course, it certainly has going to give large corporations an edge. I think in their minds, that's a hopeful thing. In my mind, I'd like to see it also retain a local power, a local cultivation efforts that are very successful. I think that that's where the innovation lies. I think the closer that you bring the product to the actual consumer, and they're finding this also with food, the healthier it is and the better it is for the person, for the community. Mm-hmm. So those are just kind of brushstroke ideas that I could apply here. I'll save the rest of my comments, I think, for our next talk, Khadijah, but just a little bit right there, I think, can kind of whet people's appetites for the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so very much for being with us. It has been my privilege to interview each one of you on the show. Hey, you guys, check out the NCIA's member blog and the industry insights that includes our NCIA member spotlight series, where we highlight some of the new members who have actually joined us from the social equity scholarship program. So don't forget to download our NCIA mobile app. And this year, you guys, the NCIA's Cannabis Business Summit takes place December 15th through the 17th in San Francisco, California. Unfortunately, I will not be there, but that's okay. You can still get your tickets at cannabisbusinesssummit.com, at Cannabis businesssummit.com. Special shout out to our DEI program sponsors, Taiho Wellness Center, the law offices of Omar Figueroa, and Copper State Farms. The mission of the DEIC committee is to educate, advocate, engage, and empower the community of cannabis and its members by cultivating partnerships with other nonprofit organizations with similar goals, providing resources that create and sustain an equitable, and not only equitable, but an environment that is inclusive and also diverse. So we are committed to building a culture that respects our members and celebrates their contributions as we work together to strengthen all communities in the cannabis space. So until next Monday, you guys, peace, love, and hippie stuff.
NCIA's Cannabis Minority Report is a product of the National Cannabis Industry Association and NCIA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. We are hosted every week by Khadijah Adams. Our executive producers are Aaron Smith and Vince Chandler. We are directed by Vince Chandler and produced by Bethany Moore. Please, please, please find out everything you can about the growing and equitable cannabis industry at thecannabisindustry.org.